Boom! Welcome to another episode of Mike Sports. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by Landry. Landry, how are you tonight?
What did you say?
So, how are you?
Can't hear you. Just kidding. Anyways, thought I started off with like a technical difficulty because we didn't have one, and that's just uncommon. I'm doing pretty good. I like the news I heard about college football, about players getting paid, about
Yeah.
time, and the only reason why I really care is because I want an NCAA football game to come back out.
Yes.
That's the only reason I really
what
care.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for that game to come out because it's like the whole time that it was out before, we didn't have the playoffs. It's like, hey, we're going to give you, all you college football fans, we're going to give you the playoffs, but you can't play NCAA anymore.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think players should have been paid this whole time, or
Yes.
can you see the money being an issue?
I mean, I can see it being an issue. I don't want it to be an example of basically these guys are professionals just playing in college, but
Right.
some compensation. Like, look, guys shouldn't be making millions of dollars before they even get to the NFL, but getting paid for things like their likeness or merchandise, I think is a good thing. Like, look, man, like if you're going to Penn State back in the day, and I'm trying to think of some good LeVar Arrington. Like, you were rocking that number 11 LeVar Arrington jersey. Like, you were definitely rocking his jersey. Only, and I know Penn State didn't put their names on the jerseys at the time anyway, but, dude, when half that stadium is filled with number 11s, he should have been getting compensated some for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not some lawsuits of ex-players saying you're still selling my jersey in your shop. You know, like even you could have like a Manziel of A&M going back and being like, you still have my shit for sale. So I expect some lawsuits beyond current players, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be, they're going to have to set some groundworks for this.
A&M made a statement today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it means because I don't really understand where the number comes from, but they talked about that players would be getting $6,900 a year.
Okay.
I don't know how they came out with a number. I don't know what that number exactly identifies. I don't know if it's like a general. That's what the general football player athlete will get if merchandise is on sale. But the bigger top tier, like quarterbacks or wide receivers or Heisman Trophy winners, if there's a different amount for them, it's going to be really interesting.
Right.
Is this going to be a standardized thing across the board, or is this going to be a percent of sales go to the player? It's going to be very interesting to see how they set this up logistically.
Yeah, a lot still to unpack there, to really, to a lot more to be seen and worked out. But I like the direction they're saying, basically, because it's still a legal process. The process is ongoing. They're just conceding that while the process is going on, they're gonna compensate players.
Right.
Or they're gonna allow players to, benefit from their likeness. And we just pointed out with the NCAA football game, the EA Sports game, that they're going to get to finally have some part of revenue is going to come into those athletes through that, and then of course jersey sales as well. And I guess I mean it sounds like that frees them up too for things like autograph signings. I don't.
To me, it's like endless, right? I mean, if you're a top tier player, you basically are NFL style royalties before you even hit the NFL.
Yeah, think about it. If you're a player in the NFL right now, let's say I'm trying to think of a good example of a running back who killed it in college and is having kind of a mediocre NFL career. So they're thinking, man, I lost out on a lot.
Yeah, college could have been where I set up my future versus the NFL.
Right.
Yeah. You can see a lot of retirement funds get built to guarantee that in the NFL. And I'm curious to see how the NFL handles it, right? Because the NFL can even say, hey, some of these star players are already loaded. We don't need to incentivize them like we used to. We can say, we're going to give you a standard contract. No signing bonus, none of that shit anymore. You already came in with $30 million to the league.
Well, and it could.
I mean, that would be illegal, but
yeah,
I'm saying without saying it out loud, they
Sure.
could be tougher on what kind of money they give, knowing that people already have money. And the players could be much more on the other side. They could say, I'm going to sit out my first season. I don't like your offer. I already have money. I can afford it.
Right.
It's going to be very interesting. This is a game changer.
Or, I mean, all of a sudden, those college players who, maybe leave school early because they want to start getting paid. Now they don't have to do that. They're getting paid based on their likeness and, merchandise. And if they're okay with those sales, they can say, you know what? Like, instead of, like, if you're a quarterback and you're going to be projected to go number one, you're going to go somewhere like the Jets, and it's going to be awful. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to take my chance. And you're junior, say. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to come back, finish out my senior year. I'm still going to make some money. Maybe not as much as I would have made in the NFL. But I'm still, like, I'm not going to starve. And I'll take my chances that next year I'll have a better spot that I can go to.
Yeah, look, like I'm kind of excited. I always like when there's like gigantic change-ups that are prosperous to the players. I don't want an NBA like league where the players control everything. I don't like that because I think you have too many opinions. Not enough structure.
Yeah.
But I do like. I've always thought, and if you've gone to college, which I know you have, obviously, but a lot of people who haven't gone to college that may watch a show or have gone to college, it was hard enough with the money you had, let alone being an athlete and everything getting thrown at you under the sun and you can't touch any of it, but you would love to have it because it would give you so much relief, to not worry about money. And all of a sudden, now you may not have to worry about that anymore. And I'm curious if incentives can be given to say, hey, we want to, like you said, we want to sell your autographs, or will that have to funnel through the NCAA?
Right.
If you think about it, if the Supreme Court's ruling allows the individual to make money for themselves without an NCAA system being the thing that has to provide it, that is a big game changer.
And boy, that becomes a slippery slope too.
Yeah. Let them slip. Let them slip. I'm excited about it. Yeah. I've always found this. First of all, I don't like the NCAA establishment to begin with. I've never liked them. Their penalties on Penn State made me want to go out and throw them off a cliff. Like, they are just too overreaching, too knee jerk, and too controlling. And now the highest court in the land has told them to shut the F up. The answer is yes. And you don't get to say anything to it. Figure it out.
Well, and what I love, like, I'll tell you, there are two bodies in sports that just, if I could abolish the two of them, I would. One of which being FIFA, which is just an absolute corrupt organization.
Yeah.
And the other one being the NCAA. These schools make billions off of these athletes. And it's like, and then when the athletes are like, hey, can we benefit from this at all? You get a free education. Shut up down there.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like the NCAA think they're like little demigods or something.
Yeah.
Really strange the way they operate. They're like parents with too much control, of your life.
Yeah, they're like those helicopter parents, you see. That's like, it's too much. Like, sometimes they're right, but, like, dude, a lot of times they're just too much.
Yeah. They're too... I just don't think you can be a human being in the NCAA. You have to basically operate like a machine in order to play sports. And I just think it's been unfair all these years. These guys have been offered the moon from under the table, and they couldn't do anything about it. And these kids are barely scraping by to buy food and everything they need, even though they're on a scholarship.
Look, let's just address the elephant in the room. A lot of especially in football, a lot of these athletes come from the poorer communities where they come from.
Urban cities, poor suburbs, a lot of minorities. They've never seen these kind of things offered to them in their life. And I mean,
and they're looking at it as there's a burden for them to help their families, to help their parents, to help siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, and
think about it. This could be the difference. Even if the 6,900 A&M, this could be the difference between having a car and not having a car. It's things like that.
Between, like, your mom having her lights on in her house and not. Like,
yeah. I like I said, man, I think this is wonderful news. Obviously, I'm biased because I want the NCAA football games to come back, but this is great in general because it's just going to give. I'm always for. I've always said I don't care about political class. I don't care about your skin color. I care about your culture and the way you operate. But most of all, I've always said there's only one real victim in this country, and that's the poor. And this addresses a lot of that. The poor gets addressed because let's face it, yeah, the big stars and whatnot are going to make a lot of money. They're about 5% of the NCAA, but even the small guys now are going to get a small cut, a small check.
We were the original lawsuit that stopped the NCAA.
I think it was a basketball one.
Yeah, it was a basketball one.
Yeah. I talked to that guy on my Twitter, actually.
What's that?
I talked to that guy on my Twitter, actually.
Ed O'Bannon?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was because he was very instrumental in it. Like, look, he had a great college career, helped UCLA win a national championship, and his NBA career wasn't anything. Like, he's not making a ton of money based on now. Granted, even I think now he goes anywhere in Los Angeles around the UCLA campus, he could probably still to the hardcore fans. You put on the marquee, hey, Ed O'Bannon's going to be here to talk about the NCAA championship. You'll get some people to get some tickets, but it's not like he made money the way he would have if he had been a major success in the NBA.
True that.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I'm excited. I think this is a very positive step in the right direction. I mean, I don't want to go too far.
Long overdue.
I don't want to go too far when I state this, but I've often thought, man, didn't they make an amendment about this? Didn't we just celebrate, Juneteenth, the end of slavery?
Yeah. I mean student athletes technically are slaves to the NCAA when you think about it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know me, I'm conservative. I don't support people who overstate and dramatize things to drive a political agenda. I think this one is downright fair.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Yeah, I'm excited now. Again, we also set our ulterior motive. We're going to get our NCAA college football game back. That was talked about a year ago. I was under the understanding they were planning on releasing it at some point this summer.
They had reached a deal with the NCAA to the IP, which is intellectual property, and had gotten a lot of things worked out and whatnot. And the NCAA was trying to configure a way where the players and whatnot could be associated or just go numbers and no names or whatnot. But with this ruling, EA doesn't have to do that anymore. They can even withdraw from that agreement and start from scratch now and probably come out better. Or they can say, hey, we're going to honor our respective contract. Once it expires, we'll go with a new law. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
All I know is I don't want to see EA have a freaking exclusive either like they do on the NFL. Because Sega, to me, makes much better sports games. NFL 2K and those games were much better than Madden. Madden basically upgrades the graphics and says they added some new animation during tackling or something and then slaps a new year on it and charges you again. Ridiculous, man. NCAA Sega or NFL 2K Sega was $19.99 and a better football game than Madden.
Yeah, what year was that? Was it 2004 or 05?
Yeah, it was one of their last years to compete. Yeah. And then when the NFL signed exclusive with the EA, it didn't matter anymore.
Oh yeah, and I remember I got that 2K game.
Yeah.
When that came out, because again, like I said, it was $19.99, came out a month before Madden, and I thought, well, if nothing else, this will keep me busy until Madden comes out. I got Madden, and it sat on my shelf until like the end of the football season because I just kept playing 2K, and I thought after a while, I'm like, well, I did buy Madden. Maybe I should play it a little bit.
Yeah, man. It's not like I won't play a Madden game, but Madden has started to feel very generic to me, very same old. And football's football. It's not like there's a lot of change in football to begin with, but it's kind of like when you buy a car, everybody's like, well, a car's a car. Well, I have a different preference. Maybe I like the body to look like this. I like a certain color. I like my wheels this size. Mm-hmm. I feel like Sega filled that gap for the other side of the fence. It doesn't like a lot of things about Madden. And I'm never going to say no to more competition.
Well, sure. Yeah. Competition
drives the price down.
Best. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I like some of the stuff about the old school Maddens better than the current Maddens. Even on the home screen as you're doing stuff, I loved the ability, like hearing the little radio show that they did with Tony Bruno, a Philly guy, which I always loved that.
That's why I hated the game.
Yeah,
Now, my favorite part about Madden was probably
Mhm.
Madden 94, 95. Couldn't remember which one. When my player got injured and an ambulance
The
came on the field,
ambulance,
ran
yeah,
over
that was
every other
93.
player,
It was
picked up that
93.
one player, and then drove off.
Yes. And
That's classic.
it was always the quarterback.
Yeah. I called it ice skating. That game felt like you were
Yeah.
ice skating.
You ever run the sweep with well, I used to, obviously I was the Eagles a lot, or like I was the Buffalo Bills a lot because I was always rooting for them in the Super Bowls. But so like I love the sweep with Thurman Thomas, man. They could not be stopped.
No, I never was the Bills. I was always the Philadelphia Eagles, and I would try to purposely fumble and go into my own end zone and touch back and safety to see how many points I could give the other team. So that's how I played.
That's a lot like the real Eagles now.
It's all right.
Yeah, with the way we like to turn the football over this year. Now, I want to segue that in talking about the NFL. And of course, you talked about playing as the Eagles in Madden, which I know you did quite often. Actually,
I did do it for you.
Yes, I'll give you credit.
I was Toro Owens because I like T.O. Eric was McNabb, and it was 2005. We played on the original Xbox.
Yep.
And I'd be a receiver and Eric be quarterback. And I told him I did it because I knew he has low self-esteem. I wanted to help him out. So I stuck with playing his team. I don't think we ever did the Cowboys.
No, we were going to, and then I moved away before we could.
Yeah, either that. But the Cowboys were atrocious in those years. That's before Romo.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, it's not like, hey, throw it to me, Quincy Carter. Hey, that's a fan. I said, throw it to me. Like, so it wasn't like I was excited about that anyways. Your team was much better.
Yeah, no, definitely. In those, I miss those days where my team was much better than yours.
Yeah.
And I kind of took it for granted. And all those people who dogged Donovan McNabb, it's like, yeah, don't you wish you had those McNabb era days again?
And Reed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
McNabb and Reed got trashed back then.
Well, Reed got trashed more at the end, and I think most people still acknowledge that they knew he was a good coach. They just thought he had run out his string in Philadelphia. It was time for a change, especially when his son died, and it was like he probably just needed a change. He needed to just completely clean slate.
Yeah, like I have no problem with the Eagles wanting to move on from him. I mean, shit, even Jimmy Johnson, we were like, hey man, you won a Super Bowl. That's it. We don't like you anymore. Get the hell out. We understand.
But I want to talk about the teams that you think are kind of flying under the radar this year. Like good teams, you think it's like I think everybody's talking a lot about, of course, the two Super Bowl teams, the Bucs and the Chiefs, and of course we talked about I think the Buffalo Bills are that next team. I think you were with me on that with the AFC. In the NFC, I feel like it's really up in the air as far as that team that's going to challenge the Bucs. Curious, I know we talked about the 49ers last week. Anybody else you want to bring up in the discussion?
I'm going to go with, even though they were up there in the last couple of years, they're still generally just not expected to go all the way or anything. I'm going to go with the Titans, especially with the addition of Julio Jones.
Okay, I do like that. I do like the Titans.
I think the Titans are an underrated team. I think their coach doesn't get enough credit. He has turned that organization around. Tannehill is still looked at as a Miami Dolphin, not that good of a quarterback, even though he's gone to Tennessee and done great things. Titans are kind of like the Titans to me are the way you kind of look at the Bills. I think the Titans are just as underrated. They can always compete and throw down with the best of them in any game.
I think it's a fair assessment, and I think that it's a fair assessment to say they could be this year's Bills, like that team that kind of flew under the radar, and then all of a sudden it's like you got a couple people saying, "Hey, look, this team's really good," and then by November, December, the average fan's like, "Hey, how come nobody talked about this?" And that lone expert in the corner was like, "I talked about him. I talked."
Yeah, I feel like they're a piece or two away from appearing in the championship game, basically.
And I wonder if Julio could be that piece.
Could be, man. I mean, Julio is not done. I think Julio's 36, 35, somewhere in there, right?
36 or 33. I guess we could. I suppose there's something we could use that could.
32. Well, I was way off. All right, so he's 32 years old. I mean, he's got plenty of life in him. He's a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as he's a speed guy, like he's a good route runner. Like
Yeah.
he
Well,
runs
and you got
everything.
Henry to throw an extra defender on who will follow Henry because Henry takes 2 guys to take him down.
Oh, sure.
So that leaves Julio a nice fresh post lane most games to run down.
And AJ Brown too. Don't forget about him. He's a nice receiver, and he's going to really flourish with everyone's going to want to pay attention to Julio. I think AJ Brown could have a huge year this year for the Titans. So yeah, I'm with you on the Titans. And from the
Who's
NFC,
yours?
I know I've been really high on the Los Angeles Rams. Like I think the Matt Stafford over Jared Goff, I think is a huge step up for the Rams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Anybody who denies that is freaking nuts.
Right. Like I just and when you get a chance to upgrade at the most important position on the field, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with you there, man. I don't think people realize because he was on such a shitty team for so long how good Stafford is. Stafford, the only reason Detroit even could hang in a game is because of Matthew Stafford.
Right. And Matt Stafford, like, I mean, him and Calvin Johnson, it is such a shame that the two of them as a combo never won a playoff game.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't get Johnson to come back to retirement and join the Rams.
Oh, that'd be great. If you get Calvin Johnson of like 4 or 5 years ago, to all of a sudden magically walk out and be like, hey, I'm ready to play again.
Was it Calvin Johnson that had the controversial catch rule thing? Was that him?
He was one of them, yeah.
It was all about it was in a playoff game.
Yeah, it was an opening day game against the Bears.
That was opening day. Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember being a big deal.
Dez Bryant was in the playoffs, obviously, and Dez didn't catch it. See if I can trigger you there.
I'm like, you can't. You just see like a weapon come in the screen. Give me
a get shot over this. Catch was what 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, well, at least you called it a catch. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, you're right. I did catch that.
That's pretty much all I need right there to validate. I was right.
All I ever said was, with my understanding of the rules at the time, that they ruled it correctly. Now, I didn't like the rule at the time, and I think the way that they've changed it is correct. And under the current rules and what I feel are the correct rules of a catch, that is a catch.
Now, what I will say, I'm in agreement partially with you. It's just it was a catch. But what I will say is, what people don't realize is, even if he caught it, it wasn't a touchdown.
Yeah, but you guys were set up down there.
So we would have been there. But there was still plenty of time on the clock. We don't even know if we would have won that game, even with that touchdown.
Oh, sure.
So, when people get all crazy, oh, it was a catch. I'm like, okay, let's say we caught it. There's still game to be played. There's no guarantee that was the winning catch. Now, had they been in like the last 60 seconds or something, I would have been like, we probably would have won that game had that call gone our way. But I think we had 3 minutes and 23 seconds on the clock still. You give Aaron Rodgers 2.5 minutes or more to score another touchdown?
Aaron Rodgers 45 seconds and you're in trouble.
Do you remember the Hail Mary on Monday or on Sunday Night Football the dude made with like 6 seconds?
Yeah.
And they won the game with like 65 yards or some crap? Yeah. But come on, man. Well, calm down, Eric. You're getting all excited about my Cowboys. Calm down.
Yeah.
That wasn't me.
But yeah, I'm very excited to see Stafford and what he's going to do with the LA Rams.
Time for me to cool down. I got to put my glass on so I'll cool off a little bit.
Look at Johnny Cool Breeze here. But yeah, so the Rams are one of my picks. And I don't know how under the radar they are. Arizona was a team I know I was high on last year and kind of disappointed me. I don't know if I'm ready to go back to that well again.
Yeah.
I just don't know if emotionally I'm ready. But I'll tell you what.
Emotionally. Well, look, I mean, football's in like a weird mode right now. How many days are we away? What's the countdown?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
I know. That's usually your thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 100 and...
No.
I'm going to go 96 days.
No. Oh, God. I'm so glad we're not in your world.
I'm kidding. All right, hold on. Let me give you a real guess.
Days.
Hold on. What?
78 days.
I was going to say 64 is my real guess, but all right. So I still would have been off.
Well, I'd have much rather lived in your world then.
Yeah. Well, the difference between you and I is I don't count football. I don't count preseason.
Oh no, this is the
Okay, good. I
national-
was like, I count September.
Yeah.
Because it's my birthday month. It makes it extra special. It's all about me. Football. All the football players are playing for me. It's all about.
No, last year opening Sunday was on your birthday.
Yeah, I know. I remember. Goodell called me. He said, "Hey, look, I know I make $55 million a year. I'm thinking maybe you might want to some of that, but I'm not going to give it to you. But I want to call you and tell you that anyways." And he hung up the phone.
Well, I think he probably called and said, "Look, man, I thought it's your birthday. I want to give you something really special. So, I mean, I figure I'm giving you the greatest gift anybody could give another person: football."
Exactly. And then I turned it on, and it was in Spanish. Telemundo, uno, hut, hut. And then he makes a touchdown, and all I hear is "Holy free holy."
Go.
Ocho Cinco. There we go.
Yeah. Ocho Cinco.
All right. What's our next topic?
Okay, we can spin the wheel here. We talked about quarterbacks last week. Today, I want to talk some running backs. I know. You, of course, were a high school running back.
Yep.
And so I know how much you love running backs. Anybody who you look at and say, I like maybe somebody under the radar that you think they could have a good season at a running back?
I mean, look, I got, my front runners, but, I will say that I've always thought that Leonard Fournette was underrated. I think he's better than he's given credit for because he played in the Jaguars. Obviously playing the Bucs, but even on the Bucs, to me, he wasn't given as much credit as he actually did. In Super Bowl, he ran pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And before going to the Super Bowl, not many people were talking about Leonard Fournette. So I go with him as someone who doesn't. David Johnson, Houston Texans.
Okay.
I think he's pretty good. I'm just going with underrated ones.
Yeah.
Cam Akers, Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'd say those are my underrated guys: Texans, Rams, Bucks. And I know it's weird saying the Bucks because they won Super Bowl. But if we're just talking about judgment of the running back position, I think Leonard Fournette is underrated.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
Yep.
I'm gonna talk about some guys who are coming off injuries. And I'm asking you if they're gonna have a bounce back year. Give me a yep or a nope. Okay. Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Too versatile not to. All purpose. Yeah.
Saquon Barkley.
Now, are you asking this in comparison to last year or bounce back as in a good year?
Bounce back is in a good year.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Okay.
I don't think he produces like he once did.
Okay. So, and now I want to ask you about another guy who's kind of, under the radar nationally. Of course, a little bias here, so I want to get an outsider's opinion. Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I can see him making a comeback. I think Miles Sanders is tough.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a tough cat. He has a thick skin on him. Whether that translates into being 100%, we'll see. But do I think he has potential to make a solid comeback? I do.
Okay. Because I wanted to be sure on that because I feel he's one of those guys who
I feel like this year I think the Eagles are better than you do.
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice that. I think the Eagles with Jalen Hurts are going to do better than you do. And for that matter, Ryan and the other guys that were on the show during the draft, I had more confidence in your team than you do.
It is funny, and I'm always curious.
I'm realistic. That's all. I go with what I see.
I can explain it. It's a little bit of that Philly doom and gloom look. Like, you have to understand, we've been raised to have our heart broken.
Yeah.
And that's just what it – and I completely agree with Chris here. Miles Sanders, very underrated. Yeah, hopefully Nick Sirianni does use him the right way. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But, it's a mentality. The Sixers, who just lost their Game 7 last week, actually right off after we went off the air. We won that game, or we lost that game, and then Game 6 was that on Friday. Game 7 was Sunday, and that was depressing. Right. But like that's kind of the feeling that somebody was talking to me about it at work before in fact, at the beginning of the series, saying like, "Oh man, the Sixers are gonna be really good." And said, "Yeah, but you have to understand, like in this town, when you're supposed to be good, you're never good. It's when you're written off that's when all of a sudden you become good."
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I think the difference you and I is Jalen Hurts' is confidence in that
Well,
player.
sure.
You have a different look at Jalen Hurts based on what happened.
Well, I have a wait and see approach with them.
Yeah. And my deal is the guy is a Leo, so he's a natural,
Well, I
just
like that.
natural charisma, and he's from Houston, Texas, and Houston produces athletes. In fact, if I believe I read stats correctly, the top 10 talent in college, 80% of them come from Florida, California, and Texas, and 64% of those three states are from Harris County alone, which is basically all of Houston,
Yeah, I was gonna
Texas.
say it's basically Houston.
So we produce a ton of talent. Now, whether that translates to the NFL doesn't matter, but it translates to college, apparently.
Well, yeah, and look, I'll be the first to admit Jalen Hurts was incredible in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though he played for the Sooners. Yeah, I'll even forgive him that one.
The hell's wrong with the Sooners?
You know I'm a Texas fan.
Well, I am too, but I respect the Sooners program.
Sure.
They got the next probably big NFL head coach sitting on their
really
team.
do.
You
In fact,
know,
a lot of people were thinking that's who the Eagles were going to try to go get.
I would have been absolutely pissed if you guys got him. I thought Jerry Jones was going to get him over our current coach, and he didn't. And I was very frustrated with that decision.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike McCarthy has another bad year if he's out. And
I think we'll give him 3 years max, and he's gone. Yeah. So he's got this year with Dak during a full season, and if it looks like crap, I think Jerry's just going to go, okay, either one more season and you're done, or I've seen enough. I don't have time. Going for another guy.
Yeah, and that's one of those instances. Remember when we talked about when the Eagles got rid of Chip Kelly, even though he had 2 good years and then 1 bad year. And I told you it was trending the wrong way. And I thought that was good that he didn't wait for the wheels to fall off to go out there and get ahead of it. I think that would be a case of if Jerry pulled the plug at the end of this year. Again, if it's just trending in the wrong direction, he could get out in front of that issue. Why sit back and wait for the wheels to fall off when that's
look, and we disagree on the Chip Kelly thing. I think Chip Kelly is still a good coach. I think I think culturally he was
at UCLA.
Huh?
How's he doing at UCLA?
Well, UCLA sucks. The Eagles had enough draw to where you could get guys to want to play for the Eagles and want to be traded to the Eagles. Who the hell wants to go to UCLA and play football?
Yeah, I know. Who wants to go to Southern California?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's called USC. If you want to go play in Southern California, nobody wants to go to UCLA unless you just want to tan by a pool, not to play effing sports, unless it's a scholarship.
I mean, but that's exactly what it is. It's a football scholarship. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to go there, play football. I'm going to be a big star in Los Angeles, and I'm going to go hang out on freaking, on Santa Monica Pier after I'm done. Which, by the way, I was there during my road trip. Freaking awesome.
Yeah. Did you talk to Chip Kelly while you were there?
We missed each other.
I'm just kidding.
we missed each other somehow.
You're like, I bumped into him, and when I tried to talk to him, he had one of those signs that has the number for his play, QS or something. I didn't know what the hell he was saying.
No, it was just like I walked by him in the hallway, like he used to walk by people in the NovaCare complex. I tried to say hi to him. He just blank stare, kept going. Didn't care to interact with people.
My thing with Chip Kelly, and we've been over this before, is once you establish a dominant program in college, don't ever take an NFL job. Stick with it. Be a god there. Retire there like a god. Going to the NFL, doing your brutal 4 to 5 years and being out just isn't worth it, man.
Do you think Nick Saban takes another run at it at some point? Or do you think he retires Alabama?
I think if Nick Saban is smart, he's going, I'm in the twilight. I am a freaking god here. Why in the hell would I ever have someone that can say on the end of that, I went in the NFL and got trashed?
And think about it. If the Miami Dolphins trainer had not, failed Drew Brees' shoulder, Drew Brees might have led the Dolphins to a couple championships, and Nick Saban's not talked about as the Alabama god. He's talked about as the guy who saved football in Southern Florida.
True, but he probably would have been after 6 or 7 years anyways.
Well, yeah.
The NFL is too much of a grind. The only guys I think that really want to be NFL coaches are either you're an assistant in the NFL and you're moving up in the ranks of the NFL, or college just doesn't feel right to you. You don't want to deal with recruitment and shit like that. If you want to be a god, but when you've seen some of the best guys with the best programs go to the NFL, about 90% of them fell. Steve Spurrier, Nick Saban, even the guys who had dominant college football teams. We're going to see Urban Meyer is the next talk. Either Urban Meyer fucking bites dust in the NFL.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think is going to happen with Urban Meyer?
I think he's going to have some success. I don't think he's going to win a Super Bowl with the Jaguars. I think he's going to have some success, but ultimately the NFL is going to grind him down. It's not like coaching college where guys just listen to you no matter what you say. They got to buy in. In college, they don't want you to talk bad about them when it comes to the NFL coming to get them. So they'll do whatever you say to get to the NFL. I do think he'll have success.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could see him even playing in the playoffs. I'm not sure I see a Super Bowl in the NFL for him. I'll keep my judgment back on that, though. Let me see 2 years from him, and then I'll make a judgment call on whether I think this dude is going to fall flat.
I will give you what I think will be the run of Urban Meyer in the NFL.
Okay.
I think year one, it starts off a little sluggish, a little rough, but then as Trevor Lawrence starts to get more comfortable, the Jags start to look like a better team. And I think we end 2021 with a lot of people talking about, oh, wow, the Jags look pretty good. Oh, maybe that's going to work there.
Yeah.
Year two, I think they take another step forward. And I think that they even make a playoff run. Maybe, make the playoffs, maybe even win a playoff game. And then, people are talking about for year three, thinking, man, that could be really a championship contender.
You think they crash?
And I think they kind of plateau in year three. And then people are still like, okay, well, maybe that was just a little bump. Year four, I think the wheels fall off.
Okay. I'm going to go something similar to that. I don't think they go as far in the playoffs as you say. I think they make the wild card game in about year three.
Mm-hmm.
I think year two, either they get back to the wild card or they get knocked out before getting into it, and then they start to get questioned what's going on there.
Sure.
So we're pretty close in wheels falling off. We have a difference of how far they go before the wheels fall off.
Well, right. I don't even think they'll make it to an AFC championship game or anything, but I think a second round, I think they could win a round in the playoffs and then in the second round go down.
Well, look, we're obviously some cynical bastards. We're giving them
I know,
no hope at the end of the day when it comes down to it. And I blame you.
Right now,
I blame you in this relationship. It's your fault.
Playoffs in 2 years.
I did everything right. It's your fault.
Yeah, people in North Florida there got to be feeling some optimism. Wait, these two guys, one from Philly, one from Texas, they got us making the playoffs in 2 years. All right.
Yeah. Well, dude, Florida's got to be feeling good, period. College football's looking up there. I won't talk about Florida State. I don't know what the hell happened to them. But the Florida Gators are looking up. The Miami Dolphins are looking up. The Jaguars are looking up. Florida's looking like a good state. They're doing healthy economically in the state.
Yeah, low taxes.
Politically, they're peaking in the state. Florida's just a real good place to be right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If it wasn't for the fact that I love Pennsylvania, I love going to see my Eagles games, Florida would be getting some consideration for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised Bill Belichick ends up in some kind of retirement down there, fishing off the coast and enjoying some sunshine and peace out to the cold.
Now, how much longer do you think he has there? Now, I think he gets to write his own ending, but how much longer do you think Bill Belichick sticks around? Forget Tom Brady in Tampa. Tom Brady's going to play till he's 75 years old. There's nothing we can do about it. But how long?
I think Brady leaves in 2025. I think 2025 is his last year of football.
I think 2080 is Tom Brady's last year. That's
Tom Brady. I'm going to go with 3012.
Yeah,
he's going to wait till his number in the following
century. Yeah,
century. Yeah, I was about to say decade. I mean, obviously, I got my shit together right now. But Tom, if I had to take a real guess at Tom Brady, when I really think this dude's going to hang it up, I'm going to go 2025 too. That's 4 years. I think he's got about 4 more years in him.
Wow. See, I think 2 years.
Yeah.
I think 2
Now,
years.
I would be in a little more agreement to you, but when I saw him eat the berry yogurt on Tom's Against Time, that's going to give him an extra 4 years right there. It's that berry yogurt.
Now, I'll ask you this. If Tom Brady goes if the Bucks go undefeated this year,
he's out. I think he leaves.
Rides off.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady's going. I'll never top it. I'll never, even though I want to keep playing football, I will never look better than I look right now. He would walk away.
Yeah, I think so. Although part of me thinks it's like, we always talk about how would you write your storybook ending. I almost wonder if to Tom Brady, it's not about that.
Tom. I know. I don't think it is about that. I just think it would be inevitable that Giselle would throw it in his face. He would really think about it and go, yeah, I can keep playing, but there's nothing else to do. Right now, he still feels like there's stuff to do. His quote was, "I would give 2 Super Bowl rings for an undefeated season." Obviously, he cares about it. He wants it.
Sure, and I mean, it's easy to say that when you've got 6 Super Bowls or 7 Super Bowl rings.
God, that's sad. Even if he gave 2 away, he still has more.
He still has 5.
Yeah, he still has 5 from one team.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. I think that's going to be it for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Christopher, for chiming in with a comment. Anybody else? Give us some of your dark horses at the bottom and your thoughts on the NCAA finally breaking the chains and allowing players to profit from their likeness. Tell you what, if somebody wanted to buy a picture of me, be damned if I'd let any other body keep them from doing it.
Exactly, man. So take your picture of me right now, and I'll send you an invoice.
Exactly. There we go. Sounds like a plan. All right. Have a good night, everybody, and happy football.
Peace.